And I actually ordered this one in large. So I've ordered a second print. I've been trying to get money to do this from the PTA, and they've agreed. So I'm getting a second print for every artist. So I actually have a second. This one's coming. I'll have it before I should have it in a couple of days, and then I'll have like a second Monet and stuff. I'll have impression sunrise and stuff. So I'll be able to show you guys. This one is really different. This one, at first,
looks like Patrick Dempsey.
Yeah. Yes. At first, when I looked at it, I'm like, it's not really the president, but yeah, it is. This one is similar to that, just with a different coloring. This one's a lot more defined. But this, I think this is the one that's without his hair curly.
Looks like he's younger. Almost.
Yes. But he only sat for him for the one picture, so I think this was just what he imagined he would have looked like. Different coat. But you can see where the light and the color actually, you're drawn this way now because of the way that he colored it. And then this was a famous one. Of course, this is another famous one of them. So you can show these and concentrate as much or as little as you want on those. And you can give a little bit of background on him. He concentrated on portraits. That's all he ever painted. He started painting when he was young. He's from a really, really poor family. His dad got to America from Scotland as an indentured servant. And so they just never had any money. And when he was 15, he went with his name was Cosmo Alexander. His art teacher took him to Scotland and then died in Scotland. They were there for 2 years, and the art teacher died. And he had to get back from Scotland, and he ended up having to be hired on a ship as a foredeck worker or whatever. And he said it was so awful, he never talked about it. Like, he wouldn't talk about how the conditions when he was on that ship. But then he ended up in London. He painted in London for about 10 years. He met his wife there. They had 12 kids. He never was very good with money. So either it was feast or famine. They would have. This is Stuart. He would have tons of money at one point and then nothing. And he painted all the it was, having your painting done by Gilbert Stuart back in the day was a really big honor. I think over the course of his life, he did about 1,000 portraits, but he died about $1,800 in debt. It was like $1,778 in debt. And because they had no money, he was in such debt, they had to bury him in a pauper's grave. They could never figure out. They wanted to, once the state they started selling more of his portraits and they were able to make some money and pay off his debts, they couldn't even move his remains because they could never find him. They have no idea because it was in an unmarked pauper's grave. So let's see. Oh, so then the next thing that they want to talk, so you can give a little history as much as you want. And then they want to talk about Fort McHenry. So we'll talk about, so who knows what the war was called between when the United States was trying to become independent from Britain? We talked about that in the John Philip Sousa one. So it's called the Revolutionary War. So we were trying to become independent. And after we had this war, 38 years later, we were at war again with Britain. And so it was over shipping rights. And so we were a pretty brave nation to take Britain on. They were a very important nation. They had tons of troops. They had lots more money than we did. And so there's this war, there's this contention, and in Baltimore, Maryland is where everything came to a head. So Fort McHenry, you can talk about what a fort is. Luke, do you know what a fort is?
Well, where all the ships and...
Oh, that's a harbor. So the fort was built in the harbor to protect the area. So Fort McHenry was built in that area to protect Baltimore. And because it was over shipping rights, they figured this war was going to happen at sea. There was going to, they'd have ships come in. And so that's what happened. And the general that was over the fort decided, because he knew this conflict was coming up, he wanted a big flag to fly over the fort, big enough that Britain could see it from it, and they could, kind of to intimidate probably. So he decided he wants this flag made. And he wants it to be huge. So now you'll have a volunteer come up, and this is not long enough. I just ordered one that's long enough. The flag is 42 feet by 30 feet. It's enormous. And so somebody attempted to make it. So one of the docents attempted to make it. It's nowhere near the size. So just having the measuring tape's enough. So you have to hold on to this side of it, but have somebody hold on to the other side and pull it out. So as you can see, like this one goes forever, and it's only 26
Is the classroom
feet.
even big enough?
The classroom, most of them, actually the portables are longer than they are wide. They're going to be a little bit more likely. But what you would do then is have a couple volunteers and have somebody stand in the corner and hold that and keep going, so they can see how long it really would be. So this general asked Mary Pickersgill, she was a widow, to make it, and he paid her $404.70. It's some really random number, but it was made out of this heavy wool bunting, and it was huge. She had to make it in the brewery across from her house because it had to be laid out on a big floor. And her mother and her daughter all worked on this flag. They worked on it 10 hours a day until it was done. And she had actually made she made another flag for George Washington. So they were in the business of making flags. And so they made this flag. They reinforced it across the top so that the cannonballs wouldn't knock it off of wherever it was hanging. And I have a picture of it. So it's in the Smithsonian now. If the kids can see, this is a really bad picture.
Flag is.
This is the flag, and they repaired it. So the flag was in 1914 is when they kind of renovated, fixed it, because it was all ripped along the edge. And there's a hole. This is actually a hole in it right here. So they have fabric behind it, reinforcing it and stuff, but it's all behind plastic, so to keep dust and light and stuff off of it. But you can see, at first it's hard to tell how big it is until you see the heads on the bottom, that it's that big, it's huge. So that's the flag. And so then the story of the song has to do with this flag. So the music, I recorded myself playing. So if you can play the piano at all, it's literally playing just the melody note of the Star Spangled Banner, or you're just playing only the melody. So if anyone's interested in doing that, I'll put that music in the thing too, because you can play it on your flute. I have a keyboard, so if you wanted to play it, but it's distracting and it takes a lot of time. So if you're doing the art project, I would recommend not doing that. But basically, I recorded it. Let me see if I can find it here. Did I not? Yeah, I actually already put it on. So basically, oh, here it is. It's very short, it's only a minute and a half. So the whole point is that you're only getting the melody here, and it's played fairly slow. So you can play it just a little bit, and it's okay. Does anybody recognize this song? Oh, and Luke, stop. Have you stopped the recording?